allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Invocation by the Salvation Army. They're here. Okay, nobody here. We'll move on. Roll call.
Sabers.
Here.
Goldammer.
Here.
Dosher. McCardle. Barrington.
Here.
Bathke.
Here.
Charks. Smith.
Alrighty, we have a quorum. So we'll start with the approval of the agenda items. Items appearing on the consent agenda may be removed by a city council member for discussion at the beginning of formal agenda items.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer. Second by Mr. McCardle. Any further discussion? Okay, roll call.
Dosher. McCardle. Barrington. Bathke.
Aye.
Charks. Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Goldammer.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Citizens input. If you need to address the mayor and members of city council on an item that was not on the agenda, excluding personnel items, please come forward to the podium and state your name and your concern. Presentations are limited to 3 minutes. Items will be considered, but no action will be taken at this time. Does anyone wish to come speak to the council? Oh, we got a couple here. You're pretty good, but-
Chet Ellsworth, Rapid City, previous resident over here on 3rd Street. My wife went to school at Mitchell High, and my boys attended there too at one time. I'm here to support the comments of Steve Simpson last session concerning the ordinance that was passed whereby the separation of powers were consolidated in the commission so that there's a pretty much loss of constitutional rights. Steve also put an article in the paper later. I'd like to comment on that too. It did elaborate a little bit more about it, and he's relying on an audit from Brookings County to show that maybe this shouldn't have been a good idea. I kind of differ with him a little bit. I think the audit that he should be concerned about was the one that appeared on March 19th, 24 of Davidson County, where it did go in and had special significance on the many lawsuits that were involved and the insurance provisions on those lawsuits. Those lawsuits did include my county I'm living in right now, over at Pennington County, Lincoln County, Minnehaha County, and Davidson County, all spearheaded right here, all secret for 2.5 years. And so that audit, when it came out in March, has to be looked at. I would think it would have been looked at. When things got coming up and they decided to use this ordinance to skip the auditing part of it and skip all this regulation of who could look at it, I started attending. And so here I am. I'm also making some comments on Mr. Gary Hubner's read in the paper today about SB 201. And the reason I'm bringing that up, that's the pipeline issue where apparently they're going to give the state the right to dictate to farmers who can have the easements, and local control is gone. Now, it's gone anyway in Davidson County, but they're trying to do that everywhere now. The basis of that, Mr. Hubner goes back into it, and he says it all depends on what 201 did in the legislature and the people behind it. But there was a little bit there's quite a bit behind it. There is a lot of the people that come out on RL 21. That's the referendum on 201. They're citing the Sustains Act.
That's your time, sorry.
Oh, okay.
Thank you, though.
Thank you.
Anyone else wish to address the council?
Mayor, members of council, my name is Shannon Sandoval. I'm currently your fire marshal. I would like to remain that after my comments here as well. I am here in my capacity as our local union president, and I just want to talk very briefly about Initiated Measure 28, which we, the firefighters, the professional firefighters, Local 4166, and others across the state are opposing. We just want to make that known. We would like to educate any folks on why we think that that's a bad idea, if they care to listen. So with that being said, we're not going to take up too much time. Our local union, Mitchell 4166, Sioux Falls, Rapid City, Watertown, Aberdeen, we have all been basically having meetings over the past month and have drafted some letters, have sent them off to a few places. Some of those being NoSouthDakotaIncomeTax.com, Lawrence and Schiller, they are a marketing and advertising agency out of Sioux Falls that is one of the key players in opposition. And then also we are working with our international union as well. So we are currently trying to acquire digital media, get the word out that we think that this is a bad idea. I don't think that there's a member of this council who's unaware of what is happening. So with that being said, we believe that there'll be massive budget cuts to city services. We also think that if it comes to that and we are cutting personnel, that not only the firefighters, but other city services, but that could cause our ISO ratings to increase, which would therefore mean that your house insurance premiums would go up, so on and so forth. Again, things that hopefully everyone is aware of. So, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Have a good evening. Hope you're here not very long.
Thank you.
Hi, everybody. Linda McEntee. I'm a lifelong resident, and usually people come up here and tell you they're sick and tired of something, right? Well, you want to know what I'm sick and tired of? Social media posts that say there is nothing going on in this town. There's nothing to do in this town. There's nothing for kids. There's nothing for adults. So I have a list of things that are happening in about a 1-month window, and I'm just going to read them. Bowling leagues for kids and grown-ups. Palace City Peddlers have a bike riding club. They do community rides and breakfast rides free around town. Pool and dart leagues. There's a new thing on Facebook called Life Begins at 50 group. They're doing Scrabble and bunco and bingo and just having a ball. Crochet club, quilting clubs, book clubs, live music all the time. I see posts all the time for live music in our town. Various churches are offering classes and events for anyone in our community. Scouting USA, formerly known as Boy Scouts. We have Girl Scouts. Free birthday party supplies through Harlan's Birthday Bag Project. Many projects at the libraries, classes, groups, story time, live music there too. Free art activities with the Council for the Arts. 2 of those this last month at the Moose. We have the new art alley. We have all kinds of kids events. Free movies once a month at Odyssey Theaters. And actually this month there's 2 free ones. Community events like Oktoberfest. Isn't that amazing? Holiday Light Parade is coming up. Not to mention all the First Fridays and those things that we've had through the year. Car shows all the time going on. James Valley Community Center, bingo, activities, health and wellness classes. And if you're not a member, guess what? It's $1 to come for the day. English-Spanish Conversation Club, bull riding event, haunted trail at Reclamation Ranch with unscary kids options, ACT Haunted Theater with unscary kids options, many trunk or treats, kids Halloween party at the Moose, Lake Mitchell Trails scavenger hunt with Ron's Bike Shop, Dobish Chiropractic, Life Quest, birdhouses out there. 6th grade art students made clay fairy houses, and they're on the trails for people to find and keep. Acting options at ACT Theater, Dakota Wesleyan. Actually, ACT Theater sent books to all 5th graders in town and are busing them to their theater this week for a play because it's a kid-related play. DW shows at the Black House, at the Black Theater. DW Homecoming Parade this weekend. This weekend is a VFW chili cook-off. How fast can I go? A women's fall luncheon. Just about every sport you can think of is available in our town. Lots of running events. We just had the Kiwanis 1 Mile Kids Fun Run on Saturday and a half marathon on Sunday. There's cheerleading, taekwondo. In the summer, there's tennis leagues, pickleball. There are over 20 parks and playgrounds in this town. There's a skate park, there's 2 disc golfs, there's ice skating lessons, Girls on the Run, public events, 16 seconds. The chamber, 6 service clubs in town, Kiwanis, Exchange, Rotary, Optimist, 2 Lions clubs. We want to encourage people to use the chamber calendar and the Everything Mitchell app because we need a place for all this stuff.
That was perfect timing. I think. It sounded like it.
That's like that's my favorite ever comment
Right.
from the public. That was awesome. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council?
My name's Aaron Cooper. I think you guys know that. I'm the local felon. Good evening, members of the council. I want to start by thanking you for giving me a chance to speak. You'll excuse me if I stutter or shake. I do have a few mental disabilities. I'm here to discuss the current restrictions placed on the cannabis dispensaries, which you know require to close earlier than bars. Bars are allowed to be open until 2 a.m. I fully understand and respect the regulations when it comes to things like cannabis. My bad, I'm stuttering real bad. The fact that we allow bars to serve alcohol till 2 a.m. while shutting cannabis dispensaries down at 8 p.m. suggests that we are placing less value on the needs of patients who rely on cannabis for health. Many people in this community, including myself, firsthand know the value of medical cannabis can provide, whether it comes from relief for chronic pain, PTSD, or other debilitating conditions. Medical cannabis is not just about leisure and recreational use. It's about providing quality of life to patients who, in some cases, like I, have no other choice or no other effective options. The hours that we are limiting these dispensaries to operate, I believe, unfairly restricts access to the necessary medication. And let's see where we are. I'm not asking for dispensaries to be open as late as bars, though I do want to point out that the very irony that alcohol, a substance known to be linked to violence, impaired driving, addiction, and many other things, is available till 2 a.m. While medical cannabis, a substance meant to alleviate suffering and the treatment, is held under suspicion. I believe that extending the hours to 10 or 11 p.m. would be more fair and a reasonable compromise. It would allow for patients to access their medication while ultimately still being within your guidelines and regulations. This is about recognizing medical cannabis patients deserve the same respect and access that anyone else who requires medication would. I don't believe we regulate the hospital or pharmacies when they need to be closed. We should be looking out for each other and not making life more difficult for those who are already dealing with health challenges. I urge the council to take a closer look at this policy and consider the real needs of patients who rely on these services, and not only ensure that our regulations are not based on outdated stigmas, but on the realities of what medical cannabis truly offers the community. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you. Anyone else wish to address the council? All right, we'll move on to the next one. Mayor and council discussion items. Real quick, I want to just say one thing. I had a couple people ask if I was using my cell phone for things during the meeting. I am responding to messages. I think a lot of these other guys are too, so we're not surfing the web. If anyone's at home watching, we're responding to messages and just responding and sending stuff back. So, Tim?
Yeah, I got a couple different things. First, at one point we had talked about potential for city code for rental inspections. And I was just wondering if there's a timeline to bring that in front of council or first language that we might be expecting to see at some point. Is that still something that's being worked on by city staff, you know?
We've been working through it very little, probably not as much as we should have been dedicating ourselves to. I kind of was waiting to, I've talked to a lot of landlords, got a lot of different input for and against. I don't think we've really went too far into it. I think Mr. Johnson, the attorney, has gone through some stuff. I think we've pulled some, actually, I think someone had sent us some fee schedules, and we've been really busy with other stuff. So we got some other stuff that's going to close soon, but we can sure take a look at it again. I think if you want to update what you went through, or anybody?
My comment was just going to be, we've been focused on that secondary water source project, trying to finalize, as well as the budget, and then I think we would pull back on there. We do have the comparison data that Mike, Councilmember Daffy, provided that we forwarded out to all of council, and I think we did some research on other ordinances as well.
Yep, that's a good summary. So we've started kind of the preliminary phase of collecting data, you know, looking at the comparisons, what are other communities doing, that kind of stuff. We haven't really hit the point where we've discussed what we want to do in Mitchell. So that would be the next phase. I don't know what the timeline will be on that. As I said, or as the others have said, there's kind of been some other more time-sensitive projects eating up a lot of time, so.
Ironically enough, I text Mike and the mayor last night asking them kind of if the time is now to kind of start looking into this. And the only question I've got is, does it have to be part of the budgeting process, which we know we're under the gun? And if not, you guys, I know, are working on it, so it's just a matter of when you can bring it back.
No, I don't think it needs to be. If you're going to look at adding something next year, we could always do an amendment to the budget at that time through the supplemental process. Or if you know what you're doing by the end of the year, we'll change the payroll resolution at that time. So.
Perfect, thank you. I just had somebody talk to me about it, and I didn't know where we were at, so I thought I'd ask. And then the other question I had, or statement, I guess, is I know Doug Greenway has officially announced he's retiring, and this will be his last council meeting. And so I wanted to thank him for his years of service. He's not done at like the end of tonight or anything, but he won't be back by, right, your 18th is the last day? And so I just wanted to take a minute to thank him for his years of service for the Corn Palace. As somebody who works in hospitality, I know that job can be very thankless at times. And so at least one person, I thought, thank you, Doug.
Thank you, Doug. Anybody else have anything else?
I'll just say, the old Glory Hound Mayor got bucked off a couple times the other night.
I did.
But,
I did.
but what a crowd. Saturday night was a great crowd. Doug, I had a lot of compliments of people saying what a crowd, and you did a great job. Everybody did a great job. It was really a fun time.
Yeah, it was a fun.
People
fun
were
time.
into it, I'm telling you. They really got into it.
It was fun, especially next year when I told them a certain council member is going to be jumping on a bull. Nah, it was fun. I'm very sore today. Better than yesterday, though. Anything else? Anybody else got anything? All right, Board of Adjustment, entertain a motion for the city council to recess and sit as the Board of Adjustment.
So moved. Second.
Whoa! Motion by Mr. Barrington, second by Mrs. Sharks, it sounded like.
Do it.
Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, hearing an action of application for Paul Gronwig variance permit. Paul Gronwig has applied for a variance permit for a maximum height of 3 stories versus 2.5 stories to build three story sixplexes located at the 1800 block of East First Avenue, legally described as shown on the agenda. Mr. Jenigus.
Mr. Mayor and Council, notice was sent out to the neighbors, published in the paper, signed, posted. There were 2 letters returned in favor, 1 was opposed. As you can see on the screens now, I gave this to Stephanie this evening. That's what they're proposing to build out in this location. As our ordinance has it as 2.5 stories or 35 feet. By having it as 2.5 stories, it's more defined versus the footage. The 2.5 stories is actually kind of ambiguous, and maybe that's not the right word. It can be 8 feet, 9 feet, 10 feet, so a story is not a very good definition of something. As we move forward with the amendment for the ordinance, that'll be one of them that we'll look at for sure. But in this area, it's neighborhood shopping, so they can only be 2.5 stories, 35 feet. The surrounding area is R4 or Conservation Network, which is 65 feet for height. The question came up during Planning Commission as to why this is neighborhood shopping. You have some pocket zonings in area to have, a gas station, convenience stores, things like that, and I'm assuming that's why this area is that. It's just these 3 lots that are neighborhood shopping right in that spot.
So Mark, we currently have several apartment buildings right next to this where this is located. Can you tell us how much higher these will be? Is this going to be a significant difference?
So a lot of people's comments were, well, those are 3-story apartment buildings. They're not, they're 2-story apartment buildings. The reason they look so much bigger is because they're 60 feet wide. So with that width and your pitch of the roof, it's about 30 feet to the peak. About 30 feet to the peak of that roof. With the current, yep. I would assume, by my just calculations, looking at some of the preliminary plans, he's probably going to be around the 35, 36 feet for the height of it by doing 3 stories with your floor trusses and a 412 pitch. It's going to be right around that. So a little bit taller than the existing to the west.
Then I will move approval.
A motion by Mrs. Sharks to approve?
Second.
Second by Mr. Goldhammer. Okay, any further discussion?
What was the one letter in there, the neighbor, I don't know if they live there or they own that 117, 119? What was their concern?
It's a rental for them. They would like to have trees or a fence put up along the south side of the property just to try and block it a little bit from their site.
Not that letter, the next one.
Oh,
This one right here.
they live in that location as well. They just felt like that they should have to stay within the boundaries of the zoning for that area, and that 35 or 3 stories versus 2.5 isn't staying within that.
So we should pull the GIS back up there. Do they live in that twin home there to the east?
Yes.
So I guess I feel like they have a certain.
They're 201. They're down 1.
Okay,
Yep,
okay,
yep.
okay. I just think that those people in 117 and 119, I don't know what his plan is with the other 2 lots, but there should be some sort of, I mean, they're going to be looking down in their backyard. Some sort of expected privacy for them. I'm not opposed to him building these at all.
Sure.
Just the height.
Mike, one of the letters is from the owners of 114 and 118.
Yep, I know, Josh.
And yeah, so it does say that they request a fence to be constructed and trees planted. Has that been discussed with the Gronigs?
So with this portion of it, it's the variance portion. Since it is neighborhood shopping, the plan has to come back in front of Planning Commission for approval at that point. And that would be the whole site layout, drainage, parking, signage, any of that stuff. So that will be discussed in the future with them.
It's a pretty wide open area.
Yeah, what I'm saying is we can't force Mr. Gruneweg to plant trees.
Commercial landscaping ordinance does have requirement for some trees. And parking, you could have to put up fencing for parking as well, depending on where the location of the parking is going to be.
Okay.
And I probably should have said this earlier, but this is probably a perfect time to say it, is October 16th, right? There's a public input session for planning and zoning, because we're going to rework that stuff, so anyone watching at home, some of these other things that come up frequently, we can discuss it at that time before we move forward with the new ordinance for planning and zoning.
At 2 p.m. in this room.
At 2 p.m. in this room.
Which you're all invited, but please don't all show up, because then we have a conflict of interest with having a quorum.
Okay.
So 3 of you, or.
That makes sense, okay.
Will that be streamed?
Yeah, I don't know, will that be on
I
online?
don't believe we were going to stream that one.
Okay. We'll put you on the list for number 1 then. Okay, we have a motion second. Anyone else got any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to discuss this? Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to set the date for Board of Adjustment hearing 10-21-24. Josh Ross has applied for a conditional use permit for outside storage and operate Mitchell Towing and Recovery business, which falls under the category of automotive sales, repair, parts, detailing, located at 24994 406th Avenue, legally described as shown on the agenda. Mr. Jenigas, do you have any update?
Nope, just setting the date.
Okay, we're just setting the date.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion on this? Okay, anyone in the audience? All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. All right, reconvene as city council. Entertain a motion for the Board of Adjustment to adjourn and the city council to reconvene in regular session.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer. Second by Mr. Barrington. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Okay. 2024 update on bridge inspection from Bros Engineering.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council, the yearly bridge inspections were completed by Bros Engineering this past spring. 4 locations were inspected, which included the Canal Bridge, West End Bridge, and 2 box culverts that were under Minnesota Street and Burr Street. The report was attached for your information, and we have Mr. Don Hammond with us, a professional engineer from Bros Engineering, to give us our update. Thank you, Don.
Thank you, Joe. Yeah, this is going to be pretty short and sweet for you as well. The 2 structures that we have any kind of concern with are or have planning associated with them through the city. The first one is probably the worst. The Canal Bridge out at the lake is probably the worst that we've seen of the 4 that we did this year. That cap that you see there is rotting at a joint location over a pile. And we've addressed, we've talked about this one in the past. the structure's in a preliminary engineering phase, so the city's on top of that. It really hasn't increased too much. It is slowly deteriorating, it is slowly spreading out, but we're at a point, we've already load rated this thing to basically half of legal loads, and we don't feel like we're at a space yet where we need to, go further to lower that from what it was. So we're just going to, that one's actually an annual inspection. We'll be looking at that every 12 months because when the cap is, or a substructure unit is rated, has a condition rating of a 3, it automatically triggers an annual inspection by FHWA standards. So that's probably the worst that we have to deal with. Well,
Which bridge is that, though? The little bike bridge or the actual road bridge?
It's the road bridge.
Okay.
Yep. The next structure is right down the street from it, right, it's it's a pre-stressed girder bridge, single span, just south of that one. Nothing to talk about with this one either, really. It's just got, it's also in the process of it's going to go to bid letting after Joe visits with you later on some right-of-way and utility easement or documents. This one is going to get a chip seal. This is the one that's really, we just want to get this deck sealed up when it's this newest structure. It's standard practice to basically seal that up with a chip seal after a few years after it's been in the ground. There's other minor issues to deal with, but predominantly it's just going to get the chip seal relatively soon. It's going to go to letting relatively soon. The next one is the triple 12x5 reinforced concrete box culvert on Minnesota Avenue. This one has just minor issues under it. It's got some exposed rebar, minor spalling, that type of thing. It's nothing too earth-shaking. It's got a heave in the sidewalk from a crack that it's got. But basically minor issues overall. It's a simple fix. We'll visit with the city engineers and visit with them on patching or painting the exposed rebar repair. And the last one is the triple 10x5 on Burr Street. Had a lot of the same issues or similar issues that the Minnesota box had, but the city has been proactive in all of these with respect to patching and repairing what we were concerned about in the past. So overall, you're sitting in good shape. Again, the first one, the Canal Bridge, was the worst, and we watch that every 12 months because of the condition it's in, and there is a plan in place as to how to deal with that going forward. So the city's done a nice job of staying very proactive in everything we submit to them, which makes our job a lot easier. It keeps a lot of the gray hairs off my head. But yeah, that's it. If you have any questions for me, I'll keep it short and sweet tonight.
What is the life expectancy of these bridges, and how long have they been out there?
Typically, you see a 75, when we design a structure, we design for a 75-year design life. Like with box culverts, like cast-in-place box culverts, stuff like that, we hope to get 100 years out of them. But the design standard is a 75-year design life. Everything you have is within, the Canal Bridge was only a little over 20, that was built in year 2000. And so that one is short of the life expectancy, but it was that timber cap, because of the way it was constructed, the bridge is super elevated, and when they, instead of using a pair of different cap pieces under that, they decided to take a single cap, cut a wedge out of it so it'll bend naturally, and then piece it together. And but what they failed to do was seal the ends of that when they put it back on. So that could be one of the main reasons. Plus, you see a lot of road salts and things like that, which is typically common, in city urban areas that will accelerate the deterioration of some things.
Was the Canal Bridge, was that done for the city or was that by the developer?
I believe that was completed by the developer and accepted by the city.
That's where I'm going with this is, so we inherited poor workmanship, and now the taxpayer's on the hook for it. And I have a question. What in and I won't hold you, what is the cost difference from a box culvert to a bridge?
That's 100% dependent upon size.
But we know there's very little water flow under that bridge. Very little. So why would we put a bridge back in where we could put a box culvert?
Well, the purpose of the canal, as my understanding, is for boat traffic, and a box culvert wouldn't fit that. Basically, a box culvert, the maximum size that you typically see in a box culvert would be a multiple of 12 by 12 foot. So that would be a little challenging. Right now, there's 7 foot of water under it. It averages between 5 and, say, 10 foot of water in the canal when we inspect it.
Here's what I'm saying is I just think it's a huge waste of taxpayer money. My 13-year-old son figured out, he said, Dad, I think those guys need to go down and get a boat slip when the city puts the slips in, and we fill it in because it's just man-made for one reason. And we have a duty as the city to provide streets, water, and sewer, but we sure don't need to put in I'm guessing here, $3 million bridge.
Two.
Okay, a $2
After
million
the road.
bridge for 12 people to put their boats in the lake when they can drive down the road and get in the lake.
And please don't misunderstand me. I'm just hypothesizing that was it could be the issue that caused that. It could have been faulty timber. I don't know. That was an acceptable structure at the time that it was built, especially for the lack of of residences out there at the time it was built. So I give you my best forensic guess as to what could cause the deterioration of these, based off of my years of experience. So, yeah.
I don't have any other bridge questions unless you guys do.
Thank you, guys.
Okay, thank you. All right. Action to approve special event permit application for Thanksgiving turkey giveaway on Saturday, November 23rd. Street closure and parking lot closure. The Mitchell Food Pantry is requesting the city council consider waiving the special event permit street and parking lot closure fee of $200. Go ahead.
You said it all right there.
Oh,
Mayor,
all righty.
Mayor and council, I'm standing in for Aaron tonight, and I just
Okay.
wanted to let you know that this is the same request and closure layout as the Easter ham giveaway in March of '24 and the Thanksgiving turkey giveaway last November. There was no fee charged in 2023 or no fees for the closure. And then it did not get charged in March of 2024 due to a misunderstanding on their part, not having it listed. So I think on our part, not saying it was a charge. So as the agenda shows, they are requesting, oops, I didn't mean to turn that off. As the agenda shows, they are requesting waiver of the special event permit, street and parking lot closure fee of $200.
And I just want to add, if you need volunteers this year, my dad and I will volunteer again, because we had fun last year.
I got your number.
Okay, sounds good. I did get his permission.
I'll move to approve waiving the fee.
Okay, we got a motion by Mr. Goldhammer and a second by Mr. Barrington.
And that's to approve the permit with the fee waived?
Correct. Okay, any further discussion?
Thank you.
Okay, anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? All right, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve and request for no parking from 3 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. on the 100 block of West 3rd Avenue adjacent to the Methodist Church. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council. The Methodist Church has requested a no parking from 3 a.m. to 4:30 a.m. sign adjacent to the church on West 3rd Avenue. The attached map is on the screen for you now with the location. Within that area, there are currently 2 handicap parking signs and 3 regular parking spaces. And I can answer any questions you have.
Can you go over the reason they're requesting this?
So I believe the reasoning is for parking spaces adjacent to the church, say Sunday morning. There might be people who live in apartments in that location that are parked there full-time. Not sure how often vehicles within that location move, and that was their concern when brought to us.
Good. John Claggett from the Methodist Church. Thanks, Joe, for that intro. A couple different things I want to share with you. We used to have that designation many years ago, and at some time it was taken away. I don't know why. For many of you that know our area, our church is 118 years old, so we've seen a lot of territory. Our footprint is the same, but we've added a lot of the handicap accessibilities on the west side. On this side, we also have another access, and we use that for Love Feast, a lot of different things. Just to let you know, too, we are very, very busy. Compared to last year, we have 1,100 more people showing up for service. How's that? That's cool. So we've got a ton of things going on. In parking, especially Sunday morning when I open usually, you see a line of cars, and it makes it difficult. We don't have any place for people to move, and especially when we have big events going on. So that's why this is at, and again, we're going back to what we had years ago on this particular thing. So hopefully we can do that.
I did want to just let council know, on this side of the street, there is also another sign that says no parking from the same time frame.
Yeah.
Okay, so it seems like this prevents your own parishioners from parking there.
Yes, no, because this stops it's the early morning hours, so you don't have people parking all night long, and especially with all the apartments we have around, if there's a space, it's good to use. In a sense, Carnegie has the same kind of an issue, but again, we have so many people coming now.
That's fabulous.
Motion by Mr. Carter to approve?
Second.
Did you? Second by Mr. Shavers.
Merci.
Okay. Any further discussion? Anyone else have any questions? Anyone in the audience wish to discuss this? Okay, we got a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve amending Resolution R 2024-60 certifying tax levy on the county auditor.
After we receive final numbers from the auditor's office, the amount to be certified increased by $5,158. So I just need that approved so we can amend it with the auditor's office.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Smith, second by Mr. Bathke. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak to this? All right, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve purchase of water meter customer portal. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council. Staff is requesting council approval to purchase software for a customer portal for water usage and information. The software would allow our users to review hourly, daily, and monthly usage from any device with a web browser. This would allow customers to receive automated leak and high-use notifications according to their preference. The city would have the capability to send out notices with this software, such as past due bills, service outage notifications, or projects within a certain area. This would possibly eliminate our need to go door to door for such notifications. Total cost for implementation is $37,805. This includes the first year of annual fees of $11,755, which will be due annually in subsequent years. Staff recommends council approval to implement the purchase of the software supplied by Core & Main as described and attached. And I can answer any other questions you may have.
Joe, when I looked a little bit at the software that's being proposed, and I noticed that it doesn't look like there's a way for customers to be able to pay their bills through this software. Is that a factual thing?
I don't believe that is available on this software.
And so I guess my follow-up question to that would be, is there softwares that we could look at where we can do the analytics and fee structure payment?
Right now, you can pay your bill online through our Encode software, through our online utility billing.
Yeah, and to answer probably your follow-up question is like Encode is what the entire city uses for everything, for all billing and everything. It's pretty much what all municipalities in the United States use. So I don't know that we could maybe do that unless you had an app that would pass through that, but I don't know if that exists.
They're kind of two different programs. So this one is really looking at the usage, where the other one is really set up to do the billing standalone.
Right, and we're hope for this is that, individuals go in and set up their usage. Let's say if their toilet is running constantly, that it hits an alarm that says, hey, we have unusual high usage here, but those are based off the parameters you input. We do have some individuals that are interested in, say, apartments, how much their usage, or if a water spigot gets left on, they can call their tenant and be like, hey, looks like we have high usage here, can you check? So we're trying to get the notifications of high usage, water running somewhere before, someone gets a really high bill and says, whoa, what happened?
That was going to be my point. Council had requested us looking at software like this on more than one occasion. I think the last time when the previous Public Works Director was here. So exactly what Joe said is something council had asked us to review and to implement so people could have better notification when there are problems.
Yeah, we just had a church that had that leak that they came in and talked, and I couldn't be more thrilled that this is something that we're going to do, because I feel like this is something that the public, especially those who have had those kinds of damaging leaks, or they're gone on vacation and a pipe breaks or something happens, and this is exactly what we need. I'm thrilled to see that. So I would like to move approval of the purchase of the water meter customer portal.
Okay, we have a motion by Mrs. Jerks. It would be nice to have an all-in-one water app, but I'm not sure that it exists, but we'll look into it.
It does exist.
Oh, it does exist?
So I'll second the motion so we can have further discussion.
Okay, second by Mr. Goldhammer. Any further discussion?
And so I guess I kind of dug into water apps more than I've ever thought I would in my life, that's for sure. And I just found a couple that seemed like you could track data of usage and then also be able to look like pay bills and things online. I don't know how it would integrate with city services that we currently have, but as somebody who is the end user of apps, I like to do everything in one app, and so I don't want to have an app to track usage and then have to go into the city website or do those different things. And I don't know what the cost difference is between the apps, but that would be something I would certainly want to look at to just make sure that we're utilizing the best resources available, if that's possible to integrate. I don't know. Kubra was the one that I thought in my...
Can you spell that?
Kubra.
Kubra.
Yeah. That it looked like it had a bunch of different options that not only fit what the current model that we're proposing tonight, but then also had some other additional platform issues or availability potential for customer use and integrating. But I don't know that it fits all the needs that the city would want or have.
Yeah, my concern would be that you also, when you get a city utilities bill, you're paying for water and you're paying for garbage and you're paying for sewer. So it's probably more convenient for the finance office, I'm guessing, to have everything all together in one. I think the same thing can be accomplished by allowing people to maybe have an app that they can pay online, and they can probably have an automatic payment scheduled, right? So I think that we have that resource already that would include all of the utility bills that we're billing for the city. So I'm not sure if it would be duplicating or.
I was just seeing if it was compatible, but there's no information, so the Kubra within code. See, any further water application discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, action to approve purchase of water meter customer portal. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Motion carries. Action to approve West End Bridge Preservation Grant Utility and Right-of-Way. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council. On July 17th of '23, the city approved a bridge preservation grant, or a big grant, for the West End Bridge. The improvements included a 2-coat polymer chip seal, rust remediation at locations on the bridge and sidewalk railings, and other associated improvements. Bros is actively working on this project. They have determined that no right-of-way or temporary easements are required and that no utilities will be affected by the project. Staff does request approval of the utility and right-of-way certificates and to authorize the mayor to sign on their behalf. This is a project that will be completed in 2025. Once bid, we'll bring those back to council for approval. So I can answer any questions you may have.
So what percentage was covered by the grant?
80.
Okay.
Yep.
And it looks like this was budgeted in '23, is that correct?
It's not included in the 25 budget, but we do have it listed as,
It is a project that has
oh, the West
funding.
End Bridges, yes.
Yes.
Sorry.
Yep. We have it in, I can't remember if it's this year's budget or next year's budget, but it's budgeted.
It is. I was looking at
Motion approved. Motion by Mr. Sibbers, second by Mrs. Charks. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to award bid for airport snow removal project rebid 2024-22R. Mr. Schrader.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. Bids were opened on September 18th, 2024 at 1:30 p.m. in City Hall Council Chambers. 3 bids were received, with low bid being quality cut lawn and tree. The base bid was for $75,000 up to 45 inches, $5,000 for additional 45 to 65 inches, with no increase above 65 inches for a total of $80,000. The basis of the bid is for a single-year lease renewable up to 5 years upon mutual agreement. The bid tabulation is attached for your information. Staff does recommend approving the award to Quality Cut Lawn and Tree. The previous bid award to Quality Cut Lawn and Tree in December of 2019 was for $65,000, with a total maximum of $85,000, just for context of this bid. I can answer any questions you may have.
Second.
Motion by Mr. Curdle, second by Mr. Barrington. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve Agreement A 2024-40 State Pavement Maintenance Agreement with South Dakota Department of Transportation Aeronautics Division Project AIP 46-4600-30-2024. Mr. Schrader.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, Council. The attached agreement is with the State of South Dakota Department of Transportation for pavement maintenance at the Mitchell Airport. The city's participation in this work was for 5% of the total costs. City is responsible for $14,762.57. The work included chip sealing and painting runway 1331. Staff does recommend approval and authorize the mayor to sign on their behalf.
Susan, this is the one we have currently listed as a contingency item because it was missed in the 24 budget.
Correct.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Smith to approve.
Second.
Second by Mr. Barrington. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? All right. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve a waiver notice of hearing for special assessment hearing for extension of Sam Street. Mr. Schrader.
Yep, Mr. Mayor, Council. Justin can correct me here if I am incorrect. But the property owner of the adjoining property is one owner, and he wants to waive the public hearing for this project and move straight into the assessment for the project. So with that, I will give a chance for anyone in the public to speak on this project if they'd like. This is for paving of Sam Street. That is on the northwest side of town, north of the lake. So with that, if there's any public comment, please come up now. Not seeing anyone coming forward, we will move forward with the resolution of the assessment.
Okay, action to approve resolution R 2024-65. Is that, am I doing the right thing here? Okay. Okay.
Second.
Got a motion and a second. Okay, any further discussion?
Joe, is there a requirement for a drainage study?
On this project, there is not, no. They have drainage going into the railroad ditch, into current drainage.
Okay, anyone else? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, we have a motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve Resolution R 2024-66, a resolution amending the City of Mitchell water and sewer rates and fees to fund current and future infrastructure improvement projects and to implement a surcharge for CW-10.
Okay, Mayor and Council. Sorry, I can't talk and click at the same time. Okay. Included in the packet is a resolution that is amending our current water and sewer rates. The only amendment that is happening is highlighted in yellow. Basically, we are adding the surcharge required for CW10, which is our wastewater treatment facility phase 2. You'll see it listed after the wastewater rates. So we are not increasing the rates at this time. It's just taking a portion of our existing rates, taking that revenue out and setting it aside for the debt service payment. This is required before we can close on our SRF loan with the state of South Dakota for this project. I can answer any questions that you may have.
Motion by Mr. McCardle to approve.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Turks. Any further discussion?
So theoretically, we built those numbers right into here, and now's the time to split it out.
Exactly. Yep. And we don't split it out until we're ready to close on the loan because you have to set that money aside specifically for that project.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, any further discussion? Anyone in the audience wish to speak on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Action to approve Resolution R 2024-67, a resolution giving approval to certain sewer facility improvements, giving approval to the issuance and sale of revenue bond to finance directly or indirectly the improvements to the facilities, approving the form of the loan agreement and the revenue bond, and pledging project revenues and collateral to secure the payment of the revenue bond, and creating special funds and accounts for the administration of funds for operation of the system and retirement of the revenue bond, and providing for a segregated special charge or surcharge for the payment of the bonds. I don't know who's in charge of this one.
That's me again.
Okay.
So Mayor and Council, included in the packet is the resolution that is required as part of the state revolving fund loan process. The resolution is for the wastewater treatment plant improvements, Phase 2. The total cost of the project was $12,899,436, and the current utility rates include the surcharge, as you just amended, for the debt service payment to the project. Without the financing, the city would not have the funds in the utility account to move forward with this project or to pay our bills for this project, so we do recommend approval of this resolution.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer.
Second.
Second by Mrs. Turks. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience would like to speak on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Hearing and second reading of ordinance 2024-08, rezoning of Lot 12 Maui Farms, First Edition, as shown on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor and Council, Planning Commission recommended approval of this unanimously. I have not received any other letters or phone calls from this from first reading. There was one letter from the first time from the applicant stating why he'd like to have this rezoned. It's abutting the existing zoning to the south and to the kitty corner to the southwest would be what they would be rezoning to. So anything that could be put on this piece of property could be put on the properties, those locations as well. Can answer any questions that you have for me on this.
Move to approve.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer.
Second.
Second by Mr. Smith. Any further discussion? Would anyone in the audience like to speak on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to adopt ordinance 2024-08. Request.
Second.
Okay, we got a motion and a second. Any further discussion? When do I request public comment? Right now, or?
Yep.
Okay, anyone in the public like to speak on this? Okay. Hearing none, I guess we will do a roll call.
Barrington.
Aye.
Bathke.
Aye.
Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Goldammer.
Aye.
Dosher.
Aye.
McCardle.
Motion carries. Hearing and second reading on ordinance O 2024-09, rezoning lots 1A and 2A in blocks 2 of Bayside Overlook subdivision. Okay, rezoning the lots 1A in subdivision as shown on the agenda.
Mr. Mayor and Council, you've seen this, the plat recently for this being second reading. I've not received any letters for or against this since our first reading. This is the step 2 of 3 process to get this rezoned, and then they can replat all the land together to have them as more usable pieces of property. I can answer any questions that you may have for me.
Move to approve on second reading.
Moved by Mrs. Sharks,
Second.
second by Mr. Goldhammer. Any further discussion? Anyone in the audience like to speak on this? Okay, all those in favor of the motion say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Motion to adopt ordinance O 2024-09.
Move to adopt. Second.
Motion by Mr. Goldhammer, second by Mr. Barrington. Okay. Now is the time for public comment. Is there anyone in the public that would like to speak on this? Okay, hearing none, we'll do a roll call.
Charts.
Aye.
Smith.
Aye.
Sabers.
Aye.
Goldammer.
Aye.
Dosher.
Aye.
McCardle. Barrington.
Aye.
Bathke.
Motion carries. All right, 2025 budget status update.
Mayor and council, at the last work session, city council asked me to follow up on this meeting about the status of where we are after all the changes that were made in the last session. I did put some information on the website as well. Some of that had to be corrected, so I'm going to just point that out tonight too. At the end of the last, do you want me to read through this list quick of what I changed from the last meeting? Will that get you to where you want to be? Yep. No, I was going to go through just the actual, those are actual cuts.
Why don't you just go through it for all the folks at home?
I got to find my mouth. I've been asked again what the yellow highlights mean. It just means council discussed it at some point during budget work sessions. That was just my way of keeping track of where we were with things. So following the last work session, let me take that page view off, sorry. Here's the first change. We had $456,000 budgeted to start the LED light replacement. Staff conversations following the meeting. Because this is going to be a biddable item, we don't think it's possible to get the bid design documents done and a project started in '24. So in lieu of having the $456,000 in the project for the budget, we removed that and basically put $200,000 in for the design next year instead of doing the project. This is not showing. Oh, I have this down at the bottom. Okay, hold on. Then when you get to the next cutout, these are the changes after hearing from subsidies at the last meeting. You increased the ACT subsidy to $42,500. CASA went up to $5,000. Dakota Counseling went to $13,000. Dakota Heartland Development Association to $25,000. Exchange Club $10,000. Mahi is at $50,000. Mitchell Area Historical Society at $25,000, MEDC at $182,000, Municipal Band at $11,500, Indian Village at $19,000, $45,000 for Main Street and Beyond, $20,000 for the Safe Place, and $262,500 for the CVB. Moving down, now we still are going to explore the grant options by waiting on doing the lighting project. That also gives us next year to evaluate the cost difference and the benefits from having wood poles versus metal poles, which was brought up at the last discussion as well. We added in the $34,000 to do the resurfacing of the new tennis courts. That is currently in the budget. We added the $220,000 that Councilmember Sabers brought up at the last meeting. I did email out that quote to everybody so you could see what that all includes. And then we added an additional $20,000 into repairs and maintenance so that we could inspect all of the light poles that are wood poles that the city owns. Those that can be treated will be treated, but that will give us a list of the priority of which ones need to be looked at first. If we find any that have a significant safety risk, we can address them right then at that time. And then I also increased contingency back up to 2024 level. From there, we had the increase in property taxes due to the increase in growth that we received from the auditor's office. I did not need to increase sales tax revenue as much as we discussed at the last meeting since we took the light poles out. So you can see the offsets there for the sales tax increase. This current budget would have $13,432, well, $13,432,990 budgeted for sales tax. You can see what 2023 collections are, and I'm anticipating we're probably going to end the year, based on where we are right now, we'll have $1.5 million of sales tax that we're not putting into the 2025 budget. So we still are accommodating that loss of potential loss from IM28 with sales tax on groceries. Council asked me to also put together a list of the items that have been cut from the budget so far. So this is the white sheet that Kevin held up at the beginning. The first section is just the capital projects that were cut from the 2025 budget. So you can see we had $6.9 million worth of capital projects that were cut. Then I went through, one of the other conversations is the other big items that we know that are coming up. I went through and just made a list of everything that I was aware that council had discussed. Keep in mind, and for people watching in the media as well, these are not actual quotes. These are just real basic estimates, and some of them are outdated. So I don't want these to be used in the future as this is how much it should cost, but we just tried to put a number to it. So there you can see for the Corn Palace improvements that council's discussed, we have the boiler plant and pump replacement, the chillers, the air handling units. That came from Johnson Controls, provided that quote for us. Council's had quite a bit of discussion on what should be done for the seating upgrades, and I understand the mayor has some sample seats coming that the public can come look at soon.
Tomorrow after 3 at the Corn
There we
Palace, if
go.
you want to come see the seats we ordered for samples, come check it out.
And then we have the Corn Palace remodeling project. That's been discussed as to what that should be. We do have a preliminary cost estimate on the Corn Palace expansion if council decides to move forward with that. These other items listed here for park and rec facilities, if you're looking online, I had tennis court under Corn Palace before, but I've moved it down to park and rec. Yes?
You just said it's the plaza specifically, that expansion number?
No, there's two. Yep, I said there's two different things. The first one was a Corn Palace remodeling. We don't have a number for that. That's going to depend on what council wants to do with it. And then the rest is the plaza expansion because we have a rough estimate on that one. I mean, your remodeling was anywhere from like 20 to 45 million. So I didn't put a number in for that. And I don't know if that's still the priority council wants to do or if you want to look at just seating upgrades. So I left that kind of open-ended. For park and rec facilities, we had a conversation I had from 2 years ago in a work session that we know the ice arena refrigeration will need to be replaced at some point. The rec center remodeling project, I don't even know if that's still really on our radar. That was on a previous facility upgrade discussion point. We've done some of those improvements already. We've already done the remodeling where the old pool was, but there may be a portion of that that council still wants to do. We have talked in the past about the new lights at the tennis courts. Someone asked me, are those eligible for the grant? They aren't. The grant is only for youth, baseball, and softball fields, so we can't use it for tennis courts, but unless we make some kind of multi-purpose field, I guess. But anyways, we should show those as a cost as well. Council had a discussion in, I think, the first work session about the condition of the older tennis courts that we have, and I think it also came to the Park and Rec Board. Kevin Nelson provided this as a real rough estimate. It may be higher or lower than that. We also went through the remaining improvements that were listed in the golf course master plan. So you can see there's $2.3 million remaining in that list. We did go through and try to do an inflation factor on those as well. Cemetery expansion, we have in the 2025 budget, the design of that, but we will have to have a cost with the utilities. There's some stormwater and then roads that'll be put into there. We want to do some improvements on the outdoor slides just to get them looking good again. Council's had a discussion on fire and EMS and what it would take to have a secondary fire station and potentially take on more ambulance runs. So, well, first, we know we do have the first contribution towards replacing a fire truck in the 2025 budget. We'll have 3 more of those to go, so that would be the remaining balance for that fire truck. Second fire station, really didn't have any idea what we should put for a number with that, but so we put $2 million down. And then funding for operating that second station. I think this is wrong. This should say 4. We did correct this at one point. Was going to be 4 FTEs and then the cost per operation. So you can see that breakout as well. Non-departmental items. So this City Hall expansion to the north parking lot, that was from 2014. So that was on the goal list from 2014. So I had that back in and I doubled the price because I had no idea what that would be now. Joe actually had some estimates on these 3. They've been discussed as part of the transportation study. It's come up here at council a couple of times doing the improvements to North Olman, so we did show those as well. We do not have STIP money sitting in general fund that we could use for these, so those would have to come out of operations and contributions that we receive from the state every year for those projects as well. And then East First Avenue, utility and street improvements. Maddie Street, that was talked about, I think, back in 14 or 15 as well. We did have a preliminary design done on that. We've been kind of waiting to see what's the city limit expansion and things like that will go into it. Here's a big one. So our decorative streetlights that we have on Main Street, Lawler, and Raleigh, when they get hit, it's very difficult. I don't even think we can get the actual posts anymore, right?
No, so they do not carry the actual cast iron that the light sits on anymore. Every time that one is knocked over, we need to get one cast, so ordered from that company. So they keep the mold, and it's casted and then shipped to us.
And I think we looked it up that they were replaced in 2001, was it, or the 90s? I don't remember. I know
I think it was closer to 1990.
Okay. So if you look at the cost there, I mean, that's a significant cost coming in the future as well. And then
$20,000 per light. So that's using these ones that are
it'd be
specifically
replacing with new ones.
with new ones. So we wouldn't have to have casts,
Right.
especially if we needed to.
Right.
There's still $40,000 for a post.
So you include the base that goes with it, the concrete base that's 4 feet in the ground. There'll be electrical conduit that would need to be ran to every light, new wire ran. So it's a project.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
It's a good one to have on the list because that is quite expensive when you look at the total cost in there.
And when we order a post to be cast, what are they charging us?
All I know is the entire cost to replace the base and the pole is right around 40,000.
And so okay, I'm sorry.
I mean, our existing poles, when they get hit,
When
what's
we
our
have-
cost?
Yeah, let's say that we have one that just one breaks and it's $40,000.
Yep.
And if we replace all of them, it's still $40,000 a piece.
My hope is that we could find a cheaper light.
Well, that's what I'm hoping.
But it's just a
But
budget.
it's a
to put
starting
in.
point.
Yeah, okay.
Not knowing what you end up with, it's a
Right, I
budget
mean,
to put in
because
there.
it's kind of like having one custom light made or ordering 178
Right.
all alike posts.
Well, I can guarantee if you wanted to, you could find a way more expensive light than just that. So
I'm sure we could.
it's all perspective. All
I'm not
perspective.
looking for more, but I'm just thinking maybe we could find something more cost effective.
And then the last thing that we added on there is council has now had 4 drainage reports given to you if you include by the Clockworks area that we looked at in Sanborn. we know that there are some improvements that are going to need to be done in the future to make any kind of an improvement on what those reports showed. What that cost is, it's just like when we looked at our master water plan, or our facility plan for water and for wastewater. I mean, you were looking at 100 million, 60 million for those long-term projects. So it's just a placeholder, again, for the media and everybody else. These are just numbers so council has something to look at. And again, we cut 6.9 out of capital requests in this year's budget, and you can see there's a whole bunch more needs in future years as well. And when you look at this list, this is not a list that we would get done in 1 year. We're talking this is probably a very extended timeline, but it still shows you as a board the things that have been discussed in the previous work sessions and goal setting times by City Council.
And I'm just going to comment on the Maddie Street completion to Havens. I mean, that was one that was brought up such a long time ago, but I feel like it's so important, especially for access. First of all, we don't have that many north-south thoroughfares for our community, but finding a way for the people at Mitchell Tech to be able to,
This isn't that street.
This isn't that?
This is Maddie down to Havens.
Oh, okay, never.
From the Wild Oak area down to Havens. That was originally discussed as part of the TIF for the woods and didn't get completed.
I know, I was looking, is it only 1.8 million? What? Why haven't we done that? Okay, never
So
mind.
explain how that works, if it was included in the TIF and then they didn't.
Well, there was 5 different phases shown in that TIF. That was prior to my time. The increment generated by that TIF was never going to be enough to fund all the projects shown in those phases. So I think that this is what you were looking for, knowing that we're not going to spend time talking about or making any progress on this big list tonight, but you wanted the public to be aware of what capital projects had to be cut out of the 25 budget to balance, so you can see the $6.9 million there. And also knowing that we have significant ongoing needs. Some of them are needs, some of them are more wants or community improvements, but we probably have other things to add to the list as well. Did I provide everything that you were expecting after the last work session? Was everybody comfortable with the changes made after the last work session and where we're standing right now with the budget?
So just for clarity, when you talk about how we have unbudgeted 1.5 million from, right? So you're saying that that is what would cover the $1.4 million shortfall if IM 28 passes and we only lose groceries?
Correct.
Okay. Now, let's assume that there's wisdom in the vote and that it fails. Then can you talk to us about, I mean, are we putting the cart before the horse?
No, you're right. So council talked about wanting to add another work session, the second meeting in November, which would be, Yep, so it'd be the second meeting in November after the election. At that time, you could either choose to make more cuts, or let's say it fails, you might want to take that 1.5 and put other projects in and amend that before the second reading. But I do feel comfortable that you could go up that 1.5 if IM 28 fails. Make sure I say that correctly. Does that answer your question? Okay. Do we need to have the other sessions, work sessions for budget, or are we good now until the second meeting in November? Is everybody comfortable where we are till then? Okay, and we'll have the first reading in November, knowing that you guys might make changes that second meeting depending on the election. Okay. Then that's the only update I had.
And then I'll just round it off with, I was reading on the new hire for mayor handbook, and it said within the first 90 days, I should make sure it's very clear what the council's goals are for the future, 1 year, 5 year, 10 year. So I'm not sure if you guys have those goals, or obviously we don't need to cover them now. But looking at this list of $88 million, and that doesn't include $45 million for the Corn Palace, you're talking about $120 million. Obviously, it's probably not responsible to do all of those on the wish list, so maybe we should have some sort of a target to work towards, so we all kind of have that decision in the back of our head to know what we're working at, you know? I think the lake was a big one, and that one's done now, so we should probably look at what we need to get done in the next 5 years. It's most important to every person in the community. That's what we're doing it for. So, does anyone else have anything else before we move on? Okay, with that, we will motion to enter into executive session according to SDCL 1-25-2, legal and contract negotiations. Okay, motion and a second. All those in favor of the motion, say aye. yourself. I should wear it in there. Jared.